The Judge, weekday afternoons at 4 on Television 7.
Now, live from the studios of 1290 WHIO, your chance to take part in the Miami Valley's only midday radio talk forum. 1290 WHIO and Television 7 proudly present this simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show.
And good morning to you. We have a show today that, to say interesting, I think would be an understatement. We're going to be revealing some information and some facts to you about our guest this morning that some will shock you, some will amaze you, some will surprise you, some may sound very normal, all right, and some may sound very abnormal. When talking about the subject of today's show with folks around the station, and I mentioned this during our radio segment, the first portion of the show, in mentioning the subject of the show, an awful lot of giggles, an awful lot of smirks, and that came from me too. I am guilty of that as well, and maybe it's because we don't fully understand what our next guest is going through, and that is Heather Peerson. Hello, Heather.
Hello, how are you this morning?
Fine, thank you. Heather, you, for those people who are just tuning in right now and flipping around the stations and they've locked on you, you look like probably a very attractive middle-aged lady to them.
Well, thank you.
You are actually a man.
Physically, yes.
Physically, you have the body parts of a man right now.
Correct.
Are you a transvestite?
No. It's transvestite is a very different thing. Mm-hmm. Transvestite is generally a heterosexual, or it can be a gay male, mm-hmm. who cross-dresses, usually because they enjoy the clothing, and usually because they simply need to escape a role that they play during the day. But they're generally very happy being men when they are men.
Now, you have, and folks at home, I hope you can follow me on this, you have a unique problem, a couple of unique problems that I was not aware of before you came in. Heather is a woman trapped inside a man's body, in her mind, but you're also, the woman inside you is also gay.
That's correct.
So when you have your male sex organs removed, go through the operation, you're going to be gay. You're going to prefer women.
That's correct, at this point.
As I said and I'm not trying to be facetious by asking this, but wouldn't it be easier if you prefer women to hang on to what you got?
Well, again, generally, I would say it would be if that's all you think about. But in my case, I feel that most of my life is spent living in the world.
Sex is not that important to you.
It's not that it's not any more or less important to me than anyone else. It's just that I realize that it's just a small fraction of what my total life is. Mm-hmm. And that to live my life just for that reason was ludicrous, really.
You were in the service.
Yes.
You did some, at home, when you were in the service, at home you did some cross-dressing.
Correct.
You were married.
Yes. To
a normal heterosexual woman.
That's correct.
Did you enjoy it? I mean, the whole life, not just the sex, but that included.
Yes, I enjoyed the life.
Mm-hmm.
However, there were a lot of parts of that life that felt very uncomfortable to me. Mm-hmm. A lot of the relationships that I dealt with, for instance, I never had any really close male friends in my life. Mm-hmm. They just never seemed to be there because the relationship between myself and that person just didn't seem correct.
Now, before we take a break, I'm going to ask you a question that's going to sound silly. Okay, a lot of these questions are as I said before, and I apologize if they sound silly to you, but they're things that come to my mind, and others asked me this question. Which bathroom are you going to use when you leave the studio?
Which bathroom would you think I would use?
I would think you would use the man's bath. I don't know. I would think that a woman, since you still have the physical body parts of a man, would feel funny. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I understand. It's probably the most frequently asked question.
Yeah.
And probably the most misunderstood. If I were to go into a restaurant and use the men's bathroom, there would probably be more trouble caused than going in and using the women's.
So here it's a little different. If somebody knows it's you and you're on television, then it's different. It would be a different reaction. If you're just out in public and nobody knows you, then you would just go in the woman's restroom.
I would probably use it regardless. Yeah. I feel I am a woman, and I'm going in there for the same purpose anybody's going in for. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you thought it was voyeurism or something, this would be an awful big act to pull just for that purpose.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment. We're talking in studio to our guest, Heather Peerson, who is a pre-operative transsexual. And if you have a question, a comment, or a thought, and I'm sure a lot of you do, give us a call. We're going to show you how to do it right now on the Mike Scinto Show.
You can take part in the Mike Scinto Show by calling 457-1290 or toll-free anywhere in Ohio, 1-800-345-1290.
Heather Peerson is with us on the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. A pre-operative transsexual, is that the best way of putting it?
That's the best way.
How much you going to have to lay out for this operation when you get it done? An irreversible operation, I assume.
The cost is somewhere around $10,000 to $15,000 for the operation I would have to go through. There's additional costs such as electrolysis, having the hair removed from my face and things like that, which runs anywhere from about $20 to $40 an hour.
I would think, too, that your average group health plan wouldn't cover this.
Most do not.
Okay. Let's go to the phones, and we say hello to, I believe, Tammy is up first. Hi, you're on with Heather.
Hi.
Yes.
I've got a question for Heather.
Yes.
Why do you...
Can I get you to speak up just a little bit, Tammy, please?
Okay. Why do you want to be a woman? Women go through hell in life.
Well, basically, it's not that I want to be one. It's that I feel like I already am one. I don't feel that I have much choice in this simply because my brain is sending signals to me telling me that that's what I am.
Men have no respect for women. And
now that's a pretty unfair general statement, Tammy.
I worked in a go-go bar, okay?
Yeah?
Granted, it's not a place for a woman to work, but it was knocking down $400 a week. And I went in and I did my job and I came home. And do you know that I had more sexual harassment from my boss than I did the men that came into that bar?
But is it fair to make a generalization about all men?
I've not met any man that has respect for a woman.
So I take it if you could change and go the opposite direction, you'd do that, huh?
No. No way.
You don't dislike it that much?
No.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. Bye-bye. Are you happy, Heather?
Yes.
Are you? Okay. We say hello to Rob.
Hey, how you doing today, Mike?
Rob, I'm doing fantastic.
That's good.
You got a question or a comment for Heather?
Yeah. Heather, do you ever really sit down and think if you're mentally ill or not?
I think in the last 8 years I've dealt with that question quite a bit.
And what do you come up with?
I don't feel I am, no. My understanding is that when a baby is first conceived, for the first 6 weeks, it begins development towards that of a female. At some point in time, the testosterone is shot into the body, and the development starts to take place for a male body. At the same time, part of that sends signals to the brain that says that this is supposed to be a male-gendered person. Just as we have some babies that are born that are hermaphrodites that have body parts of both, it's possible to have the body of one and the brain of another. And I just feel that that's the way I was born, and that's the way it is for me.
Do you believe in God?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I could get through this without God.
But God made a mistake, didn't he?
No, God did not make a mistake. God created me the way God wanted me.
Is that where you were going with that, Rob?
Huh?
Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah. I mean, you're going against the rules of the Lord, my man. I mean, it just seems like, it's unnatural. A lot of gays and, homosexuals in the world, it just seems like it's unnatural. And
well, he said a lot of gays, and we were talking, we should probably mention, and Rob, thanks for your call, we should probably mention that what we talked about in the radio portion of the show, the difference between sexual preference and gender identification.
Yes. Well, sexual preference deals with who I am attracted to, and gender identity deals with who I myself am. And the only way that the two actually relate is through the word sexual orientation. You have to know who a person likes and who they are before you know what their orientation is.
Let me go back to one of the points Rob made, and we talked about this earlier. Are you normal?
Yes.
I mean, you think it's normal to be a woman, and again, I'm not putting you down. It's normal to be a woman inside a man's body, and the woman inside the man's body is gay. I mean, you've got, like, 3 strikes against you.
Well, again, I think you have to define what normal is. Mm-hmm. And in terms of society, in terms of my being able to live in society, earn a living, and do things like that, I consider myself normal. Mm-hmm. In terms of what I was born with, I consider myself, at least, to be somewhat handicapped, the same as a person who was born without one arm.
Does it hurt your feelings when people gawk at you?
I think in the beginning it did, but I have learned so much.
Because, people have walked through the lobby when you were waiting and walked through here to look at you. And I mean, not necessarily a freak show, but in a sense, people want to see what you look like.
As I start to say, I think that in the beginning it did, but now I feel more that my self-esteem and understanding who I am has overpowered that. I really don't care what other people think simply because I think so highly of myself.
Okay. If you knew, for instance, that I had 4 arms, and I'm not suggesting that what you're going through is the same kind of strange freak thing that happens in nature, but if I had 4 arms, wouldn't you be curious what I look like? Would you want to walk by and look a little bit?
If I had never seen a person that way, yes.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons why I do things like this, because I think it's important that people see a person like myself and see cross-dressing in general in terms other than on some comedy show.
Okay. And we'll be back with more with Heather Peerson as the Mike Scinto Show continues on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. For those of you watching who don't get a chance to get in on our questions for Heather Peerson, she has agreed to stay with us through our next hour on the radio portion, so if you'd like to stick around, we certainly encourage you to do that. We say hello to Rick from Sydney. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Fantastic, Rick. Thank you.
I have a question for Heather.
Yes.
I was wondering, when she was in the Army, did she have a desire for men when she was in the Army, or he was in the Army? And
No, well, you may have missed the first portion of the show. She is gay. She likes women.
Okay. Being in the Army, did you like women at the same time?
Yes, I did. I was in the Air Force Reserve, so I was only on active duty for a period of about 6 months.
Okay, and I was wondering, do you have any girlfriends?
Currently, I'm still involved in a relationship.
Oh, what does she think about you being on TV and everything?
She deals with it. She understands that it's something that's important, and that just from the standpoint that there are a lot of people who have never met a person like me, that it's important that people learn how to deal with something like this. So she kind of goes along with it.
Thanks, Rick. We say hello to O'Day.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, how are you?
Jeannie says hi, too. I just want to let you know that we're all behind you, and that I'd like for everybody to know that Heather's done a lot more than just talk shows. She's helped a lot of us through the transition. And I know a year ago when I first contacted her, I was going through a lot of turmoil myself. And
Are you pre-op transsexual as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you have not had the surgery yet?
No, sir, not yet.
What do they do? Let me ask both of you. What do they do when we say pre-op transsexual? Are you getting hormone shots now?
Yes, I'm getting
hormones.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what will the hormones do? Will do they change the voice, the breast enlargement, that kind of thing?
They will not do anything for the voice. They do very little for the hair. They will have some breast enlargement. Mm-hmm. After a period of time, they will start to redistribute body fat so that my hips will get a little bit bigger. My skin will get a little bit smoother and my hair a little finer, but it won't go away.
All right, O'Day, thank you. Bye-bye. There are probably parents out there right now who are sitting there, maybe the kids are home from school, and they're saying, Scinto's had some pretty good stuff on that show that we've been watching for the last few weeks. He's had political folks, and now he's doing this. And why is it important to get the message out, in your opinion?
I feel it's very important for parents to understand that this is something that has happened through generations and generations of society. It is not something that's just happened recently. It did not start with Christine Jorgensen. There have been transsexual people throughout civilization. And I think it's important that a parent with a child take a look at a child who is cross-dressing and try to understand whether or not that child is going to end up being gay, transsexual, or simply a heterosexual that cross-dresses, and do it early to spare people some of what I've had to go through, especially during the teenage years.
This is the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio, coming to you from those studios and on Television 7. And we say good morning to Sandy. You're on with Heather Peerson.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing real good.
Oh, that's great. No, the reason I called, honey, is I have some friends that are like you. And I think it's great what you're going to do for yourself. And I'm a happily married woman, but I still think it's great. And
you don't think there's anything strange about it, Sandy?
No, I don't think so, because I have two friends that are that way. And to me, they're just friends. They treat you as people. And that's what Heather is. She is a person.
Are you a religious person?
Yes, I am.
I mean, why would God put a woman inside a man's body?
I have no idea, but...
I mean, was it a bad joke? I mean that sincerely.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. Something happened, but I don't know. Maybe he intended her to have a twin. That's the only thing I can figure.
All right. Well, thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We say hello to Kathy.
Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thanks.
That's good. I have a question for Heather. Heather, you said earlier that God did not make an error when he made you. Is that right?
That's correct. I don't believe so.
Okay. Then my question to you is, why are you changing it? You are good the way you are. You are, everyone is. Okay? In my philosophy, everybody has good to them. I don't think that it's our right to change what God has intended for us. In other words, that there's a reason for you being the way you are. There's a reason. And everybody keeps trying to change things. You know, women go in and they have the boob jobs and all this kind of stuff, and they got to make themselves beautiful and change everything. Everybody seems to be missing the point.
Well, Kathy, this is I think a little tougher than silicone treatment. I mean, this is they're doing some real hatchet work here.
Right, and what we're doing is we're changing something that we have no right to change.
I think you could say the same thing about a child that's born with heart murmur or a hole in their heart. God created that child that way. Do we have the right to go in and fix it? I think that God has also given us the medical technology to do some of the things that we do, and that for some reason or other, that's the way we should be traveling to try to make life better for ourselves. God does not come down and do everything for us. We have to do some things for ourselves. And I think that just as we treat other medical diseases and other medical problems, this one is one that we treat.
Thanks, Kathy. I can hear some guy sitting out here with his beer can now. He just popped the top at 9:52 in the morning, and he's saying, damn it, she's on here and she's, or he or she or whatever is influencing kids to be like him or her. I mean, you've heard that before.
Yes, I have.
What are you doing to kids?
I don't believe so. I think that if a child is going to be this way, a child is going to be this way. There is no influence. By the age of about 2 years old, both sexual preference and gender identity are fairly well established because it starts at birth, and it's somewhat reinforced by the parenting process, and those things are established. And I don't think that it influences. All it does is give the child the option.
This is the Mike Scinto Show, coming to you live from the studios of 1290 WHIO Radio and the facilities of Television 7, and we'll be back with more with pre-op transsexual Heather Peerson right after this. All right, we're going to give you, I don't think we had time to get it up on our monitor, but if folks want to get in touch with the support group, if people are having the same kinds of problems or experiences and want to share some thoughts, Crossport is the name of the support group?
That's correct.
And what's the phone number?
It's area code 513-631-0732, or they can write to P.O. Box 12701, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45212.
All right, let's say hello to, and we may get that up, I understand now. We may get it up before we go. Lori, hello. Lori, are you there? Okay, let's try, is this Jet? Is that right?
Yeah.
Hello, Jet, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Heather.
Yes.
Okay, you say the hormone shots don't change your voice.
No, they don't.
Okay. Could you change your voice, talk like a regular man?
Yes, I could.
Okay, in other words, is your higher voice, is that forced?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of work.
Okay, and you say they can change your hair some too.
It will make your hair somewhat finer, but it will not get rid of any of it. If in a woman that's taking the male hormones, if you have male pattern baldness in your family, you may end up bald.
All right, thanks so much for calling. We just have a couple of minutes left. We say hello to Diana from El Dorado, or El Dorado. I've got to get used to that pronunciation. Hi.
Hi. I have a question for Heather. I would like to know what is his or her profession, and does she go to work as a male or a female, and how do her coworkers respond to that?
While you're answering that, we're going to put up the slide of the number people can call for the support group.
Okay. Currently, I have a part-time job, and the people that I work with, most of them know about me. I do work as a woman there, and they deal with it there. They treat me as any other woman. The place that I previously worked, I started changing while I was there, and they could not deal with it. I deal with computers, specifically the personal computers, and they could not deal with the work, deal with me at work, so in June I was let go from that position. And that's one of the other problems, is that in order to have the operation, I am required to live for 2 full years this way, but I cannot do that successfully because very few laws protect me.
Thanks for calling. We have 5 seconds, then you'll be with us on our next hour, too. Are you sorry about anything you've gone through?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Callers on the line, hang on. If you want to stay with us, Heather will be with us on the radio side for another hour. You are watching and listening to The Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. We visit with a homeless family on the streets of Dayton tomorrow. Have a great day.
This simulcast segment of The Mike Scinto Show was a presentation of 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Join us tomorrow morning for another exciting guest and conversation. The Mike Scinto Show can be heard weekdays from 9 till 1 on AM 1290 WHIO.